Hi, my name is Caitlin Schomburg.
Hi, I'm Julia Francis.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Dodd.
I'm Rayon Moten.
I'm Joanna Zavala.
And hi, I'm Sierra Johnson. And today we will be talking about the fly phlebotomys perniciosis. The disease it vectors is the Toscana virus, and the location we'll be talking about today is the Mediterranean. First, we will talk about vector morphology. As you see, the wings on the fly are very hairy. It looks kind of like a mosquito in the body shape sense. Its legs are longer than the body, and their small body helps them escape notice. And their bite is not always felt, but leaves a small, round, reddish bump that starts itching hours or days later. Now we will talk about vector ecology. So this is the life cycle of the phlebotomys perniciosis fly, which is also known as the sandfly. That's its common name. So when the female fly lays its eggs, it usually lays them in areas of high humidity, such as cracks in buildings or even tree roots, but usually in humid soil rich in organic matter. It then hatches 4 to 20 days after being laid. Next, we will have the larvae that come from the eggs. Now, these larvae mainly scavenge for food that is organic matter, and they live in cool and moist places. All 4 instars are completed within 20 to 30 days, and then in the final molt, the pupa emerges. The pupae stage lasts 6 to 13 days, where it metamorphosizes into an adult fly. Now, metamorphosis is just a term for when some immature organism transforms itself into a mature form. Now, this adult fly species prefers to inhabit warm, humid, and tropical climates, which are very much similar to that of the Mediterranean climates. Below in the left corner is a picture of the Mediterranean cave. This is where the species of adult fly loves to rest. They also like to rest in rock crevices and dark places where animals and people are. Now, the infection rates of this species are higher in the summer due to their preference to warm temperatures, like in the Mediterranean. This adult fly feeds on blood, if it's a female, and this one blood meal can support the production of about 100 eggs. And for males and females, these flies feed on plant juices and nectar. Next, we are going to talk about the pathogen ecology for this fly.
When it comes to the pathogen ecology of this disease, it would be the Toscana virus. This virus is part of the family of viruses called Univiridae. This family is broken down into 5 different genuses, and Toscana is in Fiblovirus. This genus has a tri-segmented negative sense RNA genome and can only be transmitted by the sandfly, which is the vector of this pathogen. The sandfly is infected through vertical transmission. They can either be infected venereally, which can happen during copulation or mating, or transovariously, which is when the female transmits the disease to her offspring during reproduction. While these methods may be effective, they can make the pathogen less successful. Having to rely on a male to mate could have some drawbacks if there are fewer females than males, or if the male cannot find a female who is willing to mate, as this species does perform courtship dances. If the female is not infected during the mating process, then her eggs will not be infected when she lays them either. In order to get this pathogen to a host, the sandfly must be able to successfully bite and take a blood meal from a host. They are very similar to mosquitoes in this manner, as the female needs blood to produce offspring. This can make it more difficult for the sandflies to properly transmit the pathogen, as they could be killed or removed by the host. Now we're going to talk more about this transmission of the pathogen to the host.
Here on this slide, we can see an outline of the transmission cycle the Toscana virus goes through, which includes how the pathogen is passed on from vector to host. The pathogen of this virus is prevalent in areas such as the Mediterranean in the months of May to October and will peak during the extremely hot and humid months of July and August. The vectoring species we are still focused on is the sandfly, and since the females are the only ones taking part in blood meals, they are known to be the vector of this virus. This is due to the fact that females need to blood feed in order to fully develop their eggs for reproduction. Since males do not have to worry about maturation of eggs, they do not need to blood feed, and they will only feed on juices from plants. When an uninfected female bites an infected host, such as a human, they will then themselves become infected. The pathogen will enter their system through the blood meal they just took, and therefore will then grow and replicate in the cytoplasm of the vector. This, in turn, will then allow for the infected sandfly to transmit the TOSV pathogen to other uninfected hosts. In addition to humans, a few other species have been found and reported with this pathogen, such as bats and dogs. Unfortunately, when it comes to these other two species, their role as reservoir hosts are still unknown. This leads to a very large avenue that is still open for research and further developments today in order to better understand the pathogen and how it can affect other hosts. The Toscana virus itself is classified to be a neurological disease due to the symptoms it may cause and how it affects human function in life. An infected host can many of times be asymptomatic, but some symptoms that can be shown are a high fever, muscle and headaches, and in extreme cases, meningitis. We will now hear more in depth about symptoms, treatment, and the Toscana virus in general on the next slide.
The Toscana virus, as mentioned earlier, is a negative strand RNA virus. It has an incubation period ranging from a few days to 2 weeks. Most people are asymptomatic, but those who contract symptoms may see flu-like symptoms like headache, fever, nausea, and vomiting. Physical examinations may show neck rigidity or stiffness and Kernick sign. Kernick sign is a physical examination in which when the knee and hip are flexed, the extension of the leg becomes painful. The process can be seen in the picture to the bottom left of the screen. These symptoms usually clear up within a week, but the virus may come back with worse symptoms in the 3 weeks after the initial infection has cleared. These newer, more concerning symptoms target the central nervous system, which is made up primarily of the brain and spinal cord and may lead to more long-term effects. Though many people may not contract more severe life-threatening symptoms, recently 2 people in Italy have contracted them. These symptoms include poor levels of consciousness, tremors, meningitis, and meningoencephalitis, which is inflammation of the membranes surrounding the brain. Until recent years, the known distribution of the Toscana virus was limited to Italy and Portugal, but now the geographic distribution of the virus has been extended to France, Spain, Slovenia, Greece, Cyprus, and Turkey, according to results from viral isolation and serologic surveys. There is no known vaccine because there is little to no information on the genetic makeup of the virus. Often supportive care in hospitals is enough to treat the symptoms of the disease. A study suggests that ovines and horses can be asymptomatically infected by the virus, resulting in little to no damage. Evidence also suggests that dogs and bats may contract the virus and may serve as amplifying hosts, but there is no concrete evidence of them acting as reservoir hosts. In fact, in dogs, it has further been suggested that they can be used as sentinel animals for monitoring flavivirus activity, meaning that they can be used to detect increasing number of cases in the area. Next, we will see how we can protect ourselves from the virus.
I will be explaining our third infographic, which goes over public health and the ways to protect yourselves from the Toscana virus. Different ways that the public can protect themselves from this virus is through prevention. At home, one can keep the doors and windows closed or use screens on windows and doors to prevent any mosquitoes from entering the house, lessening your chance of exposure to the virus. In addition, another good way to prevent bites from the phlebotomist pernicious is through the use of citronella candles, as its scent will ward off any flying pests. If heading outside, especially during dusk and dawn when flies are most active, then wearing long clothing will be the best choice to avoid bites that could vector the virus. Another nice addition to long clothing is putting on bug repellent to repel the flies. Controlling fly population is also another great way of lessening the spread of the virus, as less vectors will be able to transfer it. This can be achieved through pest control with insecticide. If insecticide isn't a viable option, then there are biocontrol strategies that can be implemented and aim to be sustainable. One such option is the use of naturally occurring organisms that are pathogenic to flies, such as BTI and entopathogenic fungi. As of now, Bacillus thuringiensis is a bacteria that lives in the soil, is the most common fly larvicide employed in European countries. BTI is a gram-positive, spore-forming bacterium that releases insecticidal toxins that selectively target the larval stages in insects, which includes fly larval stages. Another good option is entopathogenic fungi, as it produces infective spores that attach to and penetrate the cuticle of flies, releasing toxins that ultimately result in the fly's death. This is a good option as the evolution of fungus resistance in flies is predicted to be much slower than the evolution of insecticide resistance, making it not only more sustainable, but more effective as well. More extreme ways to prevent contracting the Toscana virus is to straight up avoid high-risk locations, such as the Mediterranean basin, as it is endemic in that area. Avoiding it will ensure a lesser chance of contracting the Toscana virus. More specifically, the countries to avoid are Spain, with the endemic population being of 5%, Cyprus, with an endemic population of 51.7%, Central Italy, with an endemic population of 26.7%, and Sicily, with an endemic population of 33%. These countries should be avoided even more during the summertime, as infection peaks during the summer. Next up is detail on disease prevention.
In order to disrupt the transmission cycle of the Toscana virus and help prevent disease, it is easiest to prevent the sandfly from biting humans. This is primarily done with personal protection like avoiding bites and wearing bug spray, but other than personal protection, disease can be prevented by insecticide treatment of both houses and outside areas. Insecticides can be used as sprays, dust, or liquid baits. Many companies sell sprays or baits that you can buy and use. However, there are also exterminating companies you can hire for professional extermination and pest control. Insecticide nets can also be used for small outside areas or when camping. The most common use of insecticide nets are for covering beds when sleeping. While these are all great methods to disrupt the transmission cycle of the Toscana virus, sanitation and other less severe measures should be taken before using chemical insecticides. This is because chemical insecticides, although effective, may displace the homeowners temporarily if used in the entire house, and when used outside can also harm animals and wildlife. Proper and routine sanitation will also reduce the sandfly population in both inside and outside areas. This can be done by making sure food and drinks do not sit out. Standing water should also be avoided, and any leaks should be fixed to avoid attracting bugs. Proper sanitation is convenient for the person trying to control the bugs and keeping bugs away. However, it is not always the most effective. Since sandflies are attracted to warmer, more humid weather, the air should be kept cool and dry. These methods keep the sandfly from both biting an infected host and becoming infected, and also from spreading the infection to an uninfected host. In order for these methods to be used in the Mediterranean, the insecticides can still be used in homes and outdoors. However, more care would need to be taken in order to protect the Mediterranean environment and wildlife. Sanitation and cleanliness can easily be implemented into the Mediterranean lifestyle, so this may be the primary use of disease prevention. Also, since the Mediterranean has very humid, warm weather, although you cannot control the weather outside, it would be wise for people to use air conditioners or fans and dehumidifiers to keep the air cool and dry to keep sandflies away. On this slide, we have listed our citations for our pictures and all of our information resources. We hope you enjoyed our presentation and hope that you learned something about Toscana virus and its vector. Thanks for watching.